Hi, I'm Equinox. I'll be running Talos Principle II 100% for the DLCs. I'm joined by what is essentially Talos Principle II royalty here because we've got Gelly and we've got Protil who ran the any percent SGDQ last year. So I'm gonna get started on the run and you guys can intro yourselves and we can just talk a bit more about it. Okay, so I will need to skip this cutscene. And 3, 2, 1, go. Over to you guys.
I'm Gelly. I've definitely run the DLC before, and I am here to provide insightful commentary on things that really don't make sense. Frodo?
I'm Protal. I hold most of the world records for the main campaign of the game, but I have not done much running for the DLCs, so this is kind of a half-blind reaction almost. But I'm going to try to give my input when I can.
Yeah. So to explain what the DLC is, after the GDQ run, at the time of GDQ there wasn't any DLC, but now they've released 3 sort of separate small mini map packs, each in increasing difficulty from DLC 1 to DLC 2 to DLC 3. They have proper names. We don't really know them. And what the category that we'll be running here in particular is 100% NPNL. 100% being collecting all of the puzzles and getting the additional endings that come with that, and NPNL, which has 2 restrictions. In any percent, you may or may not have seen that there was a technique called quamping. That's very reliant on photo mode, which is a in-game capability where you can pause the game and take pictures and stuff. And that stops momentum so hard that you can actually do infinite jumping. And so we think, if you're going to have a more parkour reliant category, you're going to ban that. So that's what NP stands for, no photo mode. And then the NL stands for no launches. There are also physics-based launches. They switched engines from Talos 1 to Talos 2, but even then, this is Unreal Engine, and for some reason, a lot of the objects in this game have physics that are unreliable at higher FPSs, and so you can use them to cause very strange launches that would be interesting if they were any sort of consistent. So because they're not consistent, we didn't find the fun. No photo mode, no launches. So we're going to be going through all of the different puzzles for the DLC here. We're starting off in DLC 3, which is a focus on Byron's backstory. If you care about Byron, he's trapped because we, the main character, kind of trapped him here. Although it's irrelevant. Basically, there's a bunch of extremely hard puzzles that exist here, and we'll be doing our best to do none of them. As you can see, at least for the very start of this run, a lot of this is based on him carting around a hexahedron. You're normally not supposed to be able to take these puzzle elements out of any of these puzzles. This parkour is very difficult. Very nice work, first try.
Very nice. Thank you.
Normally, you're supposed to be able to, go into a puzzle, actually solve it from the inside, and then leave, and not be able to take the puzzle elements with you. But a cube, a meter by meter by meter cube, is going to be useful for both being able to parkour onto the walls and take the cube with you. An interesting thing to note about the way that he's being able to pick up the cubes from the walls here is that normally the walls are too tall to be able to pick up cubes in many circumstances. But because the character has the collision shape of a capsule and not a cylinder, your feet are actually curved slightly. So if you walk slightly off of a ledge, you can lower yourself while still having friction with whatever you're standing on top of. So you're slightly lower, and that gives you enough interaction range to be able to pick up cubes. And so you've used heavily pretty much any time that he's picking up a cube off of a wall that's of decent height. He has to slightly slip off, and it's quite precise because the game is not designed for that.
One could say the cube is like a companion, I guess.
That was a mod in the original Talos, if I remember correctly. Comparisons have been made. I don't know too much about Portal. What do you think, Pro? Oh my god!
That was really cool. I didn't even know the trigger was that big. Something I want to mention that I really like about the DLCs is that in a lot of these DLCs are, it's a one big area that you're visiting all the different parts. If you've been to an area, there's these fast travel boards, and if you visit another one of these boards, you're able to just warp back to that area whenever you want. And I just think that's so cool. It just shaves off a lot of the walking time that the campaign, I feel, struggles with.
Yeah, it's actually quite remarkable. Oh, this is actually a really sick trick here. Normally, you're supposed to make this planetary set rotate, but with a very precise cube placement here, he's able to stand on the cube and make this jump. Oh my god!
Very nice.
Very nice. very sick strat to be able to actually sneak the cube in there. We were. Oh yes, and then he uses the warp board here, as was mentioned earlier.
Shout out to it for finding that. Like,
yeah,
crazy
UDDD. Shout out to him. Yeah.
And for routing the rest of this, it like saved me a lot of effort when it came to like putting this together.
This is intended. So.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't say that. Spoilers.
This will hopefully be the last one. I don't remember or.
Yeah, we have like another one I think that we do. I'll try and call it out when we get news.
Yeah. So an interesting thing to note is that in these DLCs, you are not required to finish all of the puzzles here. So, 100%. We actually end up solving more puzzles than necessary for the front half. And then we end up solving the back half. And I believe there's like as many puzzles on the back half as there are on the front half. But the front half is so spread out that the walking distance makes it like twice as long in terms of time. So walking distance optimization is huge. So any way that you can do parkour, even if it's slightly less consistent, if it's closer to where you're looking to go, that's the route that you're going to take. So we're doing our best to basically take a straight line from A to B to C to D, and then using the warp boards as necessary to cut out, E and F.
And reset, and reset checkpoint.
Resetting checkpoint is another mechanic where you can reset a puzzle from a certain checkpoint. The checkpoints in this game in particular are centered around purple barriers, which are the things that delineate where a puzzle starts and where a puzzle ends. And so you usually have a checkpoint inside and you have a checkpoint outside. This trick is incredible, by the way. So we're doing parkour off of this log here, which you're not really supposed to do. It's remarkable that you can stand on that at all. And then this jump here, very good. All right.
I do not remember that. That's really cool.
He's almost done. Give him a little bit of time.
No, sorry.
This is no, he's good.
I've practiced too hard to fail this at this point.
There's about like 5 different ways in there, to my recollection, and they're all miserable. So it's
like every puzzle's got like 10 different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So
depending on how many rules you follow.
Yeah. It's quite nice. As someone who was originally a Talos 1 runner for the longest time, and still am to some extent, there was a lot of concern that they had seen too much of what the Talos 1 runners did, which was basically hop on walls for the entire duration of a run, and they would do their best to patch it out. And they haven't. So shout outs to the devs for allowing us to walk on walls. It takes a little bit more work in these games, but we've still been given the freedom to not puzzle most of the time. So over here, there's actually an interesting point, and I think it's something that Equinox here should consider, is that because the DLCs are actually so recent, very often there are strategies that get patched out. So for example, Proto found a strategy in this area involving moving walls where you can just like walk into one and it like clips through you. It's very strange. And they patched it out since. However, Equinox is not running on that previous patch, but he's actually running on the most recent patch, which I think at some point we should maybe try to consider whether or not switching back to previous patches would be possible. But I think as it stands, we're kind of at a no. We're in a holding pattern when it comes to patching, because they're still working on revisions of not only this game but also Talos 1 Reawakened, which is where they're going to port the original Talos game into the new engine. And so they're doing a bunch of patches to both make this game work a little bit better and toying and tinkering with the engine there. So things are still up in the air a little bit. I don't expect it to affect anything by the time the marathon rolls around, but it is something that we're still working on, is that we basically have a litany of strats that worked on one patch and stopped working on another, and so on and so forth.
I can show you how it doesn't work, so let me try and go through it.
Sure.
So we'd end up here normally, but post-patch I'm like, oh no, I can't get it. This used to be a straight walkthrough.
Oh, you see, there's these large moving walls there.
It's awesome. It's a really cool puzzle to do. Just I don't think I've ever done it before. Sorry.
Yeah. Definitely a trailer shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is sick as hell. Or as heck. My bad. This is just parkour in. You just walk in, call it a day. Good night. Don't need a cube there. You end up doing that one in first person, which is really interesting. Most Talos runners, to my knowledge, are first person runners. Could be wrong.
Yeah, so if I were to say something about that, so in certain cases, the camera kind of gets in the way of trying to aim in a certain place. So that's why I switched to first. In general, I like to do like the platforming, especially for the LC3 in third person. If like the run necessitates, you know, like using lasers and stuff, first person aiming is a bit more accurate. So in fact, in the LC1, you'll see me switch a lot to first, just for that convenience. But I guess it's mostly down to preference, right? The third person, and specifically for the LC2, also helps because like I need to time some bunny hops. In first person, it's very difficult to see when you're touching the ground, so I kind of got or learned it that way. That's basically it. It's preference mostly.
Yeah. No, makes sense to me. Something that I forgot to note, and it'll come up quite a few times here. There are gaps that exist in walls, which he has been using with great benefit. There are just gaps in walls where you are able to grab items through. On the edges of purples, there can be some very precise gaps where you can bring an item through where you're definitely not supposed to be. So for example, the item that he's carrying around here, the jammer, you usually can't use it to like do any serious amount of parkour, but you can use it to stop a barrier. By the way, this is the end of DLC 3.
Weird. Don't ask any questions here. It's like play the game, figure it out. We've played it so many times, we haven't figured it out yet.
I don't need to know it, but we'll be moving on to DLC 1, which has a lot more a connector focus. So I don't think we'll be. I don't recall if we break out anything other than cubes here. Interestingly enough, but
no, there's no jammers here, so we can't.
Right. So anytime that Equinox here is trying to break out an item that isn't a cube, which will come up when we get back to DLC 2, the longest DLC. You'll find it a lot easier instead of trying to use, a jammer to try to break out of bounds. You have to put it in places where you're able to grab it out. We have a couple of different ways that we're able to do that. You see, here's a corner clip for the record. Corner clips are FPS dependent tricks that we're not entirely sure why they work. Our best guess is that having high FPS near a corner gives you very sticky physics, and having low FPS gives you relatively smoother physics. And so if you're able to pause, you're able to mix in having high FPS while running and then pausing. Your pause menu is at 30 FPS. So if you can like inject a little bit of low FPS, you sink into a wall a little bit further, and that'll give you just enough to convince the game that you're standing on a flat floor. It's very strange. That's my best guess, by the way. I have no idea if that's true or not. That's kind of how it worked in Talos 1. We do that a couple of times here because, again, we were looking to break out of bounds in ways that are most convenient to us, and if we don't have cubes over there, next best thing is climbing up a corner if we can do it.
The geometry. Sorry. Go.
I can say something I would like to mention is that if you played Talos 2 or the DLCs, you may know that there's things called Prometheus sparks, and they let you skip puzzles entirely. Even though those do count towards 100%, for this purpose, for the purposes of this run, they are banned. So every puzzle has to be completed via the terminal at the end, or whatever method. In this case, it's shattered memories or something.
Yeah.
Just because it makes it more interesting, right? Like you could be collecting all the sparks here, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, sparks don't even count towards save game progress, which is like your main indicator. It does not.
Yeah.
So you basically, you're using your save file to determine whether or not you've done 100%. These sparks, which are useful for being able to skip certain puzzles, don't count. So might as well not collect them, and it also just isn't super interesting for routing if we do include them. So just ban them. Up here is well, this one's kind of embarrassingly easy. I'm not gonna lie. Very good. He's done it.
Incredible.
I didn't choke that one.
It's super funny because in the original in Talos 2, there's a very similar structured puzzle in W2, I think it is W2, W3, one of the last levels, where you can do something very similar to that, and they patched it out. They added an invisible wall. Well, they tried to patch it out. It's still possible, but it's a lot more difficult. In here, they just were like, yeah, you can have it. Like, whatever, it's fine. So
have you bought the game?
This parkour, by the way, is wild.
It's
I think
very
this is
tight,
found 15 to 30 minutes after the DLC came out. So,
This is new.
oh, you can make it up here. Oh, very good. Equinox has been working his heart and soul into doing his best to reroute the DLCs as it comes up. So this one's new to me. I do not remember this looking like this. Very good.
Yeah, well, it's, if you get it first try, it's better.
Right.
But, yeah.
Again, in a marathon setting, you know, you could be doing the no reset strategies of being very consistent or whatever, but I think it's most interesting looking at like the strategies that you would actually employ for a world record run, because like that's so cool. Like being able to parkour up the surface like that is very neat. This is the intended solution. RIP.
Sorry. We do have a few more, but they're quite simple. So.
Something to note, which kind of matters, is there's a slight difference in the fact that like in the other DLCs you use these wheels where you put your hand down and oh my god, that works. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You normally you put your hand on a wheel and you collect like some spark that furthers your progress for like a bridge or something like that. In this DLC, you're actually collecting the parts of the soul of the character Sarabi who died in the Calvin Street explosion, something like that. But the interface is actually completely different. There's a directionality that's required. Like you have to be standing in front of the wheel in order to collect the wheel. For these soul pieces, as long as you're close enough within the sphere of interaction, you can actually access it. And that'll come up later, right? And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So we'll actually solve a puzzle through a hole in the wall.
Yes. Yeah. It's very fascinating. So just something to keep in mind there. But we'll be making our way to, I think this is the last section other than the gold puzzles.
Yeah, so we've got the last four. Yeah, so it's good to mention as well right now that this is the only place where gold puzzles, so that is like puzzles that are harder than usual, right? So this is the only place where we can do them before we solve the rest. So that's actually part of the route. We'll solve the gold puzzles before we solve the very last puzzle of the game, I guess. So we can't really do that anywhere else. But at least if it helps the route, then why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is sort of intended too. I'm actually surprised how many of these are intended. I feel like I should fix that. But...
Yeah. Well, this has like there is an unintended way you can come around from the back, but it's a bit slow.
It's slow. Yeah. No, that's...
I was pretty bummed I couldn't. But anyway, here's the hole in the wall coming up.
This is an incredibly precise way where he's going to set up a cube so that he can stand in a particular position. You'll see it here. The cube placement is pretty precise, and he's able to stand on this cube and just barely look through up there. He needs the center of his mouse to... There he goes.
Incredible.
He warps through the wall in order to collect Sarabi's spirit there. So very good. And then you'll be recouping the cube here and collecting one more puzzle and then sneaking in the back of the gold here shortly.
Yeah, that's gonna be patched out after I do the run, probably.
I don't know.
They're working on Reawaken. Let's
hope so.
It would be very... Oh yeah, so you notice that he's holding the cube in a very strange... The game is not programmed for you to keep having items while collecting these Sarabi spirits. They did patch that out for wheels to the best of my knowledge, but like if you're doing the Sarabi spirit stuff, if you're holding a cube, you're going to keep holding that cube, heck or high water. This parkour is all in the service of going out of bounds, which
is very precise. Yeah,
very precise. If you need focus, I can.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right. This. Yeah. So the gold puzzles, like you mentioned before, those are actually able to be done before the final puzzle in the series. Normally. The Talos formula is you do the normal puzzles, you do the big puzzle that indicates the end of the game for regular players, and then you do the special gold puzzles, which are in addition. But we're going to cut out the gold puzzles by doing those before the big puzzle because it's just convenient in the routing. It was very close. An interesting thing to note is that the gold puzzles are right next to the spawn at the very beginning, but because they're locked up super tight, very good, very good. There's a hole here.
I soft locked the last time, so I'm very happy I got it.
And then you're inside of a bunch of walls that have like half kind of collision up here, but thankfully you can simply walk up this.
So yeah, this is what we tend to do too.
Yep. 30 FPS, very good, very
So
good.
30
And then-
FPS lets us walk through walls basically. In certain
Well,
places.
Yeah, it lets you walk through walls that you're already not supposed to be walking through. Like, you're not supposed to even be in that area if you're
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
through them.
It's like there's a restricted access and the rest of it is just curtains at that point.
And then this edge, yeah. So again, goofy collision will let us grab the cube up here, and we'll be just about done with grabbing 2 and 3.
Yeah, so these
there's a very
yeah, sorry. Sorry,
oh
sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
you actually explained it. You know it.
Yeah, so I haven't like solved these puzzles casually yet. They are super hard. So these are like the gold puzzles that we're in right now. We're collecting is a bit different. So yeah, now we're gonna be ported in front of, sorry, to the start of the game. So this is the last puzzle we need to do. Yeah, massive spoilers coming up. So like, look away. This is the intended, and this is normally a very satisfying puzzle to solve. So.
Yeah, this is intended. So look away now.
I
A
don't
quick
think
thing
I
to
did
note.
this one casually.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very
It's-
cool. Yeah. Quick thing to note is that the reason that he got warped when he left that final puzzle there is because he didn't technically get into the gold puzzles in a reasonable way. So the game's fail-safe is to warp you back to the beginning, which is very convenient for us. So we're just about done here with DLC 1. Just have to, well, I guess, pass on and then collect the actual Soul of Sarabi to return back.
So,
Very good. DLC 1. And so now we're moving on to the biggest set of puzzles, DLC 2. So DLC 2 is the, what they call it, a beach arc. This is the Yakut, who is the hapless fool, has bagged. Oh, that's not a kind way to term it. He has a girlfriend now, and he's doing his best to impress her. And so he, who hates puzzles, has to solve a bunch of puzzles.
by the way, we didn't save his girlfriend in the last run, so she's feeling a bit guilty probably at this point. Sorry, we're feeling a bit guilty at this point.
That's yeah. There's
She forgets though, it's fine.
huge size for a puzzle. Unlike the previous two, which had like I think between like 16 and like I think DLC 3 had even less than that. This has a full-featured like 30-something puzzles plus
31.
that 31 plus
that's
the hexahedron in the middle, the big old cube. So
I think I spent an entire day doing just this DLC when it first came out.
yeah, it's massive, and they're reasonably difficult.
Yeah.
They're not beyond the pale, but they are very far away from each other, so that's why it takes the longest. That's it.
Yeah, so
An interesting thing to note. Oh yeah, you can explain it. Go ahead.
that's okay. So we basically need to solve like 10 puzzles each in a certain area. There are 3 lighthouses we need to trigger, and that will trigger the final puzzle to be open. There's also shrines or stars that we need to get. So that's like extra bits and pieces that will finish the 100% run. And as an incentive, we're also getting like a secret ending, I guess. But it's not really an ending, it's like secret content. Like.
All right. So you may be noticing that he's using this activator outside the puzzle, and he's very quickly putting down and picking up near these structures here. As an interesting aside, this is definitely not how you're supposed to solve these puzzles. An activator will activate anything within its radius. In the main game, this is used to solve one of the 24 stars, which is the things that he's currently collecting now. But activators will work any of these, provided that you get it close enough. So out of the 6 stars that are in here, we end up using activator on like 5 of them. And one of them, you just end up having to do the intended solution because it's more convenient, not because you couldn't. So that basically cuts out a lot of the, okay, so this is a jammer sneak as well, just as a quick explanation for that. There are a lot of ways to get jammers past things. These barriers are strangely programmed. Normally with the blue barriers, if you try to grab a jammer while it's on the other side, it will drag you through because the game knows that there's a dependency chain there, basically. However, the game registers that you're on the other side of a blue barrier from a jammer by basically drawing a line from you to the jammer. And it just checks if there's a blue barrier in the middle. If there's not a blue barrier in the middle, it will let you grab the jammer. So if you can put the jammer on very close to one edge near a wall, and if you're on the other side of that wall, the line that it will draw between you and the jammer will be through the wall and not the blue barrier. And so the game's like, oh, that's fine. And we call that a jammer sneak because you're just sneaking a jammer through the other side of a blue barrier. Almost any blue barrier this can be done with, and it's, I wouldn't say very easy, but it's remarkably efficient in how effective it is and how simple it is to set up.
Yeah, we should also talk about how I'm using the jammer on like all the puzzles. Normally,
Yes.
if a puzzle doesn't really involve a jammer in any way, it's hidden behind a blue barrier. But obviously, they weren't really counting on the fact that you could break out other jammers, I guess. So they still work outside the puzzle. I could just walk up to something, jam it, and walk straight through.
Right. Yeah, so that's why you're carting around a jammer, is because it's very convenient. Cubes work sort of well, and you will be using a cube throughout the duration of this run to be able to collect it. But like, if the Talos devs have this very cute idea of like, I'm gonna put the ending right next to the beginning, and I'm gonna put it behind a blue barrier, and it's your job to figure out how to get past the blue barrier. And our answer is, well, we have a jammer, so call it a day. Something to note is that he's been toying around with this strange little spark that's been moving through the duration of all the puzzles here. It's this, I think they call it Prometheus soul sort of thing.
Sprite. The Prometheus
Sprite, yeah.
Yeah. It's Prometheus sprite.
I'm suddenly thirsty.
The way, yeah. The way that those work is they have a bunch of waypoints on the map where they go from A to B to C to D, and so you touch it at each of those locations as sort of like a, I don't know, exploring, having fun, whatever. But the game will save after each of those waypoints are met. So we can basically do a bunch of puzzles while we're waiting for it to go from one point to another, and then when we're done with that series of puzzles, we can just touch it and then move on. So we're basically multitasking. We're trying to do both at the same time by just waiting until it's done with its little journey when it goes from one to the other. This jump is incredibly hard. You're basically switching gravity onto a tree here, and then once you land that, you have the unenviable task of doing a curve jump around a corner here. So,
but now it's way easier because I failed it the first time, so I brought an item down that opens a see it now, so
very good.
opens that door.
Oh, nice.
So that's my safety strat. It's not too bad.
Cool.
Yeah, that first time you're decently close, but again, things are finicky in this game. I'm not gonna blame you too hard for missing for sure.
Physics messes around a lot, like in the finer points, I guess, but it makes it very hard to route.
Yes.
So there are certain tricks that we have, but since we couldn't really make them consistent, we don't use them.
Yes, yeah. Marathon strats to some extent, although, you could definitely try some of the more inconsistent strats if you'd like. No one's going to stop you.
It's fine.
This one's hard. I'm surprised that this one works at all. This seems really precise to make work because you're avoiding a guided jump while doing that. That's like a subtlety.
Yeah.
That's different to note is that when you're standing on a cube, the game really wants you to go certain places. It will make a guided jump, or basically if you press jump, it will take you to that intended location, which is labeled by a series of footprints. And sometimes we can use that to our advantage by using a guided jump where there definitely shouldn't be a guided jump. But on the flip side, if the game is deciding, well, you actually want to jump from this cube onto the floor here, and you don't want to do that, you want to jump to the side onto the wall where you're definitely not supposed to be, you have to fight the game by rotating your camera in such a way where the game figures out, oh, you figure out where to jump, I'm not going to give you a guided jump. And so there's precise positioning in not only where you stand and where you put the cube, but also the position of your camera makes a difference as well. That was easy. Nice job on that one.
Thank you.
That puzzle was
I'm just cruising at this point. It's like
yeah. So we're just about what?
Yeah.
What? Oh,
Yeah. That's never happened before.
yeah. The physics in this game, again, FPS dependent. I think you're running at a screaming 150 FPS if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. And so the higher your FPS goes, the more unpredictable certain interactions can become, which we don't want, but sometimes it just happens, and you just gotta live with it.
That's not too bad.
No, that one's not the end of the world.
The
but
worst is the
using
cube
cubes-
rodeo, right? It's when you
Yeah.
try and place you try and place a cube like in your own space, and the game doesn't like that at all, and you'll basically get bucked around a whole bunch.
Yeah.
At random, like there's no way to compensate or anything.
Right. Other things involving the FPS that he's fighting, anytime that he puts a cube on a ledge, there's like a 50-50 shot that the cube will fall off by random jitters, just because, the game is not happy whenever a cube is not on a solid platform. And so if there's like any amount of play in where the cube can end up going, it like slowly jiggles off the edge. And so there is a time limit every time he's putting it on a ledge here, for example. Although you've got pretty decent. Wow, nice work.
I need to restart again. Yeah, so this is this is the part where we would launch. Like launching is more consistent than this. So
Yeah,
I'm just gonna try and do it the legal way. Yeah,
it is funny that in the NPNL there would be a more consistent way with something we banned for inconsistency's sake. Perhaps a conversation's to be made about that. I don't know. But I think that launch is so overpowered that you could use it to skip building the bridge to the red tower, which is like halfway across the map, it feels like. So very, very, very goofy and all. That could go a multitude of ways, and whether or not that would be consistent.
No, absolutely not. It's a lottery if you get it big.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it for any percent if you wanted to.
I think any percent is better ways to do everything here.
And actually,
ways.
Well, okay, there's clumping time, but otherwise, for the other bridges we can just swim to them usually, so makes it much easier.
That's true. A very subtle thing to notice is that on the wheel that he just activated, he was able to jump on it, which may not seem remarkable to you, but almost every wheel in this game is programmed in such a way where you're not supposed to be able to do that. And that one, for some reason, just lets you. So we might as well weaponize it to get a bit of a neat curve jump out of that.
I did not know that. That's really cool.
We have two of those, so there's that one and there's another one that we'll use later to set up the last star. It took me a lot of finding out.
This strategy is super cool. The way that Equinox had described it to me is that each of these activators aren't just like a flat circle on the ground. They are a sphere. And so they exist not only in 2 dimensions, but in the third one, in the vertical dimension. So what he's doing here is...
You can see it there.
Yeah, it goes up as well. And this is normally not used in the main game at all because it's just like an effect, right? Like if you're sort of spherical, like it'll go along the floor, and that's about as far as it's explored in the main game.
Puzzles are 2D usually, so even though there's the walls, they aren't any levels, or at least not in the way that they're used to activate.
Yeah, but he's placing an activator right here in a very particular way, which is it's a tool that we're going to be making use of later. He'll be activating the activator, and it will be very prudent and pragmatic for us to have an activator down there when we do the puzzle that's right above this, because the devs have decided to be very clever and put one puzzle directly above another in the architecture. Well, Barzai did that.
Yes.
Sorry, awkward silence. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, you're fine. You're making it right there. It's again, this parkour is rough and it's hard to tell. The game to exacerbate the physics point, because I will harp on this. There's a trick in NPNL called South One Skip in the main game that is reliant on a property of the cube. Oh yeah, so here's the activation here. Very nice. Cubes
so cool.
can if cubes are vibrating in any capacity, depending on the FPS, they can either dampen or heighten your jumps kind of randomly. And it is imperative that in the NPNL, when you're doing the South 1 skip, you have like the best version of cube jiggle, I think is what I ended up calling it. That's what we're fighting in order to do any amount of physics here. So like for all we know, he placed the cube on that barrier and the cube had very bad vibes and he wasn't able to jump as high. That's kind of what it felt like it was looking like. That's why he put it up and down. He would pick it up and put it down every so often, not only because the cube is slowly slipping off, but because you can reset the properties of a cube to make it better for jumping. That's what we're working with.
And like sometimes it boils down to decimal points, you know. So like you would actually, like I had the strat where I needed to grab a ledge, and the only way I could get the value to reset is by jumping up and down on the cube several times. It's weird. I don't know, man. At this point we're just trying stuff. It sticks to the wall. We use it in the round. That's right, basically.
Yeah. We'll figure it out someday, I'm sure.
It's voodoo. Voodoo with a slice of witchcraft, essentially.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that from the version differences when this DLC came out, this is actually like a different engine almost. It's the same engine, but the physics are way different. Like at least what I remember, like the cubes can like tumble down hills and stuff, and things can roll around, and the physics can just get like totally messed up at points, and it's like you have to restart checkpoint or do something. But
yes, so they changed the physics between. They changed physics between patches. That is correct. I believe that was partly because of an Unreal Engine update, but also because they changed the programming of some of the cubes. So that's cool. It's rough. Oh, we're running through the water here just as a very quick point. You have different breathing times for different DLCs, so like you can breathe underwater for longer. Most importantly, if you are holding just left or just right when going through water, your speed is not as greatly diminished as if you were to sprint fully forward into the water. And that's the difference maker between making it through the water and dying and having to restart and recollect a bunch of things. So that's why he's walking through the water sideways there. In the main game, it's actually a lot more pronounced, but in this game, it still like matters, even though it's like a little bit of a diminished effect.
I don't know if it's a bug or not, but I think in this DLC, you're able to be underwater for a little bit longer than any other part in the game.
Yeah.
Quite a bit longer.
Yeah.
He's like the Guybrush Threepwood of the robots or whatever. No. He spends a long time underwater, potentially.
Yes, Yakut. I don't know. He's a tough cookie to crack or whatever. So I don't know. There is some reason because they did program it to where like in the main game you breathe less than if you were Yakut in the water. So maybe they give you more excuse to be able to explore underwater. I'm not sure. Yeah. There's not a whole lot underwater anyway, so we'll just use what they gave us in any case. We're just about done here, aren't we? At least before we get to the big old hexahedron.
Yeah, so we're just setting up the last few things here. We've got greens, the remainder of the greens as well. But we also need to get stars. So we need to pick 2 up from this part. Yeah, so we can use elements from other puzzles too. Yeah. Makes it much easier.
That's so smart. I didn't even know about that. That is so smart.
It's partly intended. They keep doing this. I remember this from the original game, and
that's how you get that star.
It's a way to get the star. I don't know if it's the way to get the star.
Dude, what?
It's awesome. So yeah, we're quickly coming up on. Well, I wouldn't say we're coming up on time. We got a fair bit. Something to explain is that he left a gravity gun. Oh, a while ago now. It slipped me by. I'll keep better luck on that. He collected a gravity gun, which is an item that you can use to be able to set up gravitron. Basically, you can change the gravity to be able to,
so we can like
tractor beams. Yeah. And you're not supposed to be able to break those out of puzzles. And the hexahedron, which is the massive puzzle in the middle, is very strongly reliant on the fact that you aren't able to use gravitrons outside of the puzzle. So we're going to use that to turn what is normally like, it must be 6 minutes to do even, you know.
That puzzle takes a while, even if you're doing it fast. That puzzle takes a while.
Yeah, and we're just going to skip all of it with some definitely very precise jumps. I've never seen you mess it up, but you know, now I've jinxed you, so I guess we'll have more time to commentate. But it's incredibly difficult because there's, well, we'll see.
It's very precise and everything is slippery. Is basically it.
Yeah. But we'll show don't tell on that one. The inverter. This is like one of the only times where you end up actually taking an inverter from like point A to point B, just because like that's the one time where it's convenient to be able to convert one laser type to another. Is this breaks half the puzzle. So let's just grab cube and then.
Yeah, we can clip.
This geometry.
We can clip into these plants with some very precise positioning. It's like the colliders, I guess. They kind of line up a little bit. So where normally it's like slippery because it's resting on the cube or the cube is resting on it either, or it becomes climbable. I have no idea how I found it. To this day, I still don't know how I found it.
It's a good guess, and it worked out in your favor. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Don't question the Talos gods.
There's a trick like that in West 1, I'm pretty sure, but it's not super useful. It was really some really janky least interactions stuff.
Yes.
Something like that.
There's some other ones in like I think South 1 that look like that, or for some reason the plants in this game, they have collision, which you would expect because you don't want to be able to walk through trees, but the top of them have nice collision for being able to stand on.
It depends. It depends on the level. It depends on, like the same geometry has completely different behaviors in certain points. So like you have to try everything.
We're in the hexahedron, so we're going to use that to fire the tractor beam, which is just about at maximum distance.
It's the full length of the ground.
Yeah. And then going here, we're definitely not supposed to be able to do this.
Yep.
Oh, very close.
No, it's okay.
That jump is really difficult. It is super tight.
Yep. It's you've got a curved jump around a corner here. He's got a bit of a setup here. It's okay. It's okay.
We're good. We're good with time. We're good.
we're definitely good with time. Don't sweat it. Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, the hexahedron is like a little bit magnetic. So like when you're standing on it, your view is corrected. So there we go. Very nice. So everything's a little bit cattywampus when you're not standing on something.
Yeah. So now the hard part is coming up, right?
Yeah. So this is Proto. This is yours. Go for it.
So the fun thing about this map is that there's a what is it, like a laser activator that closes a gate when it's activated, and every time you restart when you restart checkpoint and reload the map, it takes time for that gate to close again. So the goal here is to teleport to your other body and get through that gate before it has enough time to fully close. And it's super tight because you have to actually teleport before the fade out finishes, so you actually can't see anything while you're aiming, and it just requires a ton of muscle memory. It's totally blindfolded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the moment you can see anything.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's over. Very good. Yeah, so again, that trick has to be done entirely blind, because by the time that you can actually fully see, you've missed your chance. So very, very nice that you were able to get that in an expedient amount of time.
Yeah, so now we need to get
segmented only.
No. So we need to get the secret stuff now for the incentive.
Yep.
All right,
there's a well, I won't say.
We'll see. We'll leave it to the viewers to donate, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a.
I was gonna forget the cube there. I have no idea.
Very nice. There's a variety of keys that exist around the map, which you all have to collect in the same amount of time.
We'll see.
Checkpoint. We'll see. All right. We'll see.
Let's keep everyone in suspense, right?
So I'll talk about something boring. He just dropped a cube on a fence, which is remarkable, at least to me, because the fences you can't actually stand on, or you can at least jump off of them. Depending on your FPS, you can get a variety of results from just plain slipping off of it to being stuck on the fence, being unable to move one direction or another. So you can actually use a cube as the like interstitial between yourself and the fence as sort of an interface, and it turns the strange vibrations of a cube from like a detriment to a benefit. And so you can basically jump on the cube and it negates everything that the fence would affect you with. I'm overcomplicating this. You can put a cube on a fence and it's nice to stand on the cube, and it's not nice to stand on the fence. Okay, that's my answer. And that I think is like one of the only times where it ends up being useful, even though there are so many fences in this game that we would like to cross. That's the only time where we have the convenience and the motive and the opportunity to do so.
You make me sound like a criminal now. And I think for the devs, I kind of am at this point. It's like I basically like to troll their Discord, and I get a new record or something. I go in their Discord and I say like,
you tell them?
No, wait. I said, guys, I really
That's why they patched Cloakman.
No. I said like, guys, I really like the game. I just wish it was longer.
Oh.
And the amount of like, oh, you cheated and stuff that I get is amazing. Because I love doing them. I don't get like speedrunners are not that appreciated from Crow Team.
No, we keep a kind distance between ourselves and Crow Team. They know we exist.
All right, so this is like the incentive.
Here we go. Yep.
Crab party. Yeah, it builds up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Alright, I don't know how long I'm gonna stay here, but this is like the gist of it, right?
I think here's all the. Oh man, there's more crabs. Oh man.
No, I was joking. Yeah, so this is basically it, right?
Yeah, no, very nice. There's a crab right in the Talos Principle II. Put that on the Twitter account. So now we're gonna move on to the end of the game. And Yakut has solved almost all the puzzles at this point. I think he solved.
This is the last one.
Just the last gold, and then we'll be going on our way, leaving through the VTOL, which is the fancy name for a helicopter, and it'll be time very soon here. So warping over, and time ends on entering. Time. I think.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Cool.
What was the final time for that?
46 minutes and 45 seconds. So it's like a few minutes off of world record.
Yeah, very, very close. Very, very good, all things considered. And again, very comfortably under the 50-minute estimate. That should not be a problem. So I guess if I'm going to have any final words, I'd like to say that I would love to see the DLC come up in GDQ. I quite like how the DLC came together, and there's a wide variety, especially with the NPNL of the strats. There's actually quite a few. It's a lot more than just quamping, so I'd love to see that come up in the DLC, and I'd love to commentate again. So that's it from me, Gelly.
Yeah, I also want to see this run. I mean, this is my main thing is 100%, and the DLCs. It's just so much more stuff compacted all together. So much parkour. There's almost no downtime, which I really love. It's a nice change of pace. So I'd really love to see this.
Yeah, thanks. So from my side, I think I would like to see, obviously I've been putting a lot of effort into it, right? But apart from that, I think it's very different to the run that you guys did last year. So it's more content as such, like the level is different, it's summer themed, so there's a lot going for it there. And I think it's quite tight now. So as you said, like there's no downtime, it's interesting at least. So yeah, hopefully it makes it through. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for watching, moderators and folks, and we hope to see you in a couple months.